Chapter 1. Leaving Las Vegas. Some phones ring with a pulse and some ring with chimes. I hear the peal of a bell, and I stumble into reality. Then I realize it's the sound of the phone in my bedroom blaring through the rain and thunder. It's another early agonizing Saturday morning, and I'm wishing Danny would call. He's working his ass off in Hollywood. I'm now the writer for an influential women's magazine, WOW, which stands for Women of the World. There I meet and interview eligible bachelors on their thoughts of what men really want from women. I haven't discovered that yet, and I doubt that any man knows or will ever tell. The men I interview command the attention of women the world over, because they are successful, rich, and are able to demand pleasure. These men are attractive and shrewd, belonging to an exclusive club. Nevertheless, none could turn me on like Danny. I wouldn't let any man into my soul, my body, only Danny. I could not think or concentrate on anyone. I wanted him. Men became just toys to me, to play with, break and discard. That's how I lived my life, and that's how I wanted it to remain until I met Daniel McLeod. I'm blinded by love. I'm sick. I can't seem to see anyone, feel anything when the object of my affection is not with me. I don't know where emotions materialize. Is it in the mind? Is it physical? Who cares? All I know is I'm possessed, and I need an exorcism. These feelings kept framing my thoughts, and my mind continued to deceive me, but not my body. I'm hot for him, and I love him. His voice is intoxicating, where I become drunk with passion. My days are spent stumbling around not eating, or hearing the voices of others. I reached for the phone, struggling through pillows that simulate a body to remind me that I'm not alone, knocking over lamps and pictures, hoping the call is from Danny. Before I could say hello, "Hi Sydney, how's that beautiful body?" Danny said, in an erotic whisper. "I get off just looking at your pretty face, those brown eyes and those luscious full lips. You're more than a man could want or hope for, and that body drives me insane." "Tell me you're mine," he stated, reaching my soul and wringing it dry with his lyrical voice. "I'm yours and you know it." I said what he wanted, and my pulse began to race, then my mind took flight. "Now tell me what you want when I come to you," Danny said, sounding excitingly horny. "I want you to kiss my nipples, caress my body with those hands, and moisten my lips with your tongue." "Yes, yes," he murmured, asking for more. "Devour my body with your kisses, take my body beyond its limits, and drive me to my crisis. Make love to me the way you have dreamed," I stated. I taught Danny how to satisfy my sexual cravings and fantasies, and now he enjoyed the ritual as much as I enjoyed him performing it. However, our intense lovemaking created the worst jealousy in both of us the longer he stayed away. When we recovered from phone sex, he remembered why he called. "Guess what, baby?" he stated, all excited. "I don't want to guess at this hour, just tell me," I said impatiently, hoping he was returning to New York. "I want you to guess," he begged. "Well, have you stopped drinking and smoking? You know those things are not good for you," I said, trying mothering. I know, no, I haven't stopped drinking. I just don't do it as much. If you were with me, I wouldn't smoke or drink at all." "You don't love me anymore," I blurted out. "No, that's not it, but you are getting close." "Don't say that, Danny." "Well, you started it, baby, you know I don't mean that." "I didn't start this, you started with this stupid guessing game." "Okay, baby, one more guess," he said, overlooking my impatience. "You're standing at my door and you're going to rip my clothes off, throw me on the floor and ravish me," I said, half joking and wishing it were true. "No, baby, but that is a thought for the next time. I've been nominated for a Golden Globe Award, and I'm going to celebrate. I want you to meet me in Las Vegas at the Wynn Hotel. I knew you would get it. You work so hard, but I thought we would go to Venice and have gondolas ferry us through the canals, not go to a hotel in Las Vegas. We could go to the Venetian Hotel instead, he said, laughing. I don't think that's funny. Las Vegas is not romantic. What do you mean? People go there every day to get married, he stated. I know I promised you we would go to Venice together when I started to make some money. I have the money, but not the time. You have already gone to Venice and not with me, I said, pouting. I know, Sydney, but that was business, and besides, you said you weren't going anywhere with me in Europe on business. I can't go to Italy now. I have to meet my producers at Caesars in Vegas. I have money, and I can pay for the trip. I continued, not hearing anything he said. It's not the money, and you're not paying for anything, he yelled. Shit, woman, I don't want you to give me anything. I want to give you something. Why do you think I'm taking every picture that's offered me? I love you, and I want to marry you, woman, he shouted in his Scottish brogue. Marriage. Did I hear you? We'll talk about marriage when I see you. Okay. I have something for you. I bought it in Italy. Danny didn't want to talk about it any further. He made up his mind, and that was that. How could that be okay? Marriage was the last thing I thought about. I guess I could be content living and loving Danny, but not marry him. I wanted to tell him I thought it would be difficult to marry him. I could love him and be a part of his life. I liked our arrangement. Well, are you going to meet me? Of course, I started thinking with my heart. I don't want to be with anyone but you at this moment in my life, Danny said. How much life had he lived? He was only 20. I've only known him 1 year and saw him a few times when he flies in from Los Angeles. What does that matter? I asked myself. He wants me and I want him in the worst way. What I need to do is pack my bags and put all questions and idle thoughts away for now, before I ruin everything. Yes, I'll meet you, I mumbled, half-dazed from waking up early from a tired, dream-laden sleep. All right, baby, I'll send you a ticket and money. Goodbye, baby. I love you. Close those sexy brown eyes and go back to sleep. Bye, baby. I love to hear him call me baby. Those words were so sweet that I would play them in my mind over and over. I fell deliriously back to sleep like a kitten that just corralled her first bird and didn't know whether to eat it or make it a best friend. The next morning I called my friend Heather, who lives in Houston, Texas. I needed advice. Heather, this is Sydney. Guess what? Danny called, I announced, not allowing Heather to answer and sounding like a girl with her first boyfriend. I told you he would, see, and you were afraid he wasn't thinking about you. How could he not think of you? You're beautiful, and he knows it. You have to stop thinking about all the issues of age, older women with younger men. You're only 25. You make it sound like he's a teenager. He's 20, and you know how those actors are. They grow up early. Times they are a-changing, my dear. Women outlive men, so you two can die together, she said, laughing at her own words. I don't think that's funny, I said, feeling depressed. I wasn't trying to be funny. I was trying to be practical. What is wrong with you? I remember when you used to have a sense of humor, Heather stated, showing concern for my behavior. I don't need that kind of talk. I need advice, Heather. Danny wants to marry me. He's lost his mind. He's too young. Well, it's up to you to provide his education and broaden his horizons, if you know what I mean, Heather said with a chuckle. He hasn't lost his mind, you have lost yours. I don't want to hear that, I stated angrily. You don't want to hear the truth? The truth will set you free, kiddo. You want to suffer, you want to feel a little pain, well, and don't you think you experienced enough of that with your marriage to that pervert? Mike. You're not happy unless you are suffering, then suffer on, you'll have a lot of time for that. Danny has been loving and kind, and you can't believe it. You can't believe that a man as young as he would know what he wants. He wanted a career as an actor and he did it. Now he wants you and that's what he's going after. He knows what he wants, girlie, you don't. I tried to interrupt, and Heather talked over me as if hearing only her own words. So, I let her finish. Why do you want to think about the past? The most important thing in life is happening now and in the future. You don't want to give him a chance because of your past. You want to let age be a factor in your life. Well, let me tell you, age has never been a factor in a man's life. Men go after the prettiest and youngest women they can put their hands on, and it doesn't bother them in the least that the women are 10 years or 20 years older or younger. Here you are, a vibrant, beautiful young woman with money, a young man loves you and trying to give you his riches, and you are saying, what if? What if the world ends? The way things are going, we all might not live past tomorrow. What if he decides never to see you? Are you going to be happy in your pain? Think about these questions. Does Danny satisfy you sexually? Yes. Does he show you how much he loves you? Yes. Does he put anyone before you? No. Does he have money, and does he give it to you? Yes, yes, yes. Then what the hell is wrong with you? Besides, you're not the first cougar. That actress, what's her name, married her young man. Yeah, where are they now? I said with bitter strength. You are wasting my time. She paused, but I knew there was more to come. Heather gave me an earful, and then hung up the phone. I guess she was tired of my complaints, and I probably exhausted her with my stories. Then maybe she just didn't want to hear what I called problems. Maybe she was having problems in her own life, and my problems didn't amount to a hill of beans. The next day, a large amount of money was wired into my checking account. Surprised by how much Danny sent, I didn't want to accept it, but I did. I remembered what Heather said about money. If a man gives you money, don't take it unless you love him. Because when a man parts with his money, he's parting with his heart and soul. If he gives you all he has, he loves you, and you should never play with a man's heart, mind, and money in that order. I should have remembered that. I decided to buy new clothes and visit my friend Stephen's salon. I met Stephen at Trass's apartment last year when I first moved to New York. Stephen said he would accompany me on my shopping trip and give me pointers on my quest for the illusion of beauty. Stephen was a man denying his sexuality. He enjoyed the attention and company of women, but wanted and craved men. He's handsome, tall, dark, and a beautiful spirit. His mysterious light brown eyes saw plenty in his 30 years. He wore the most expensive clothes, because he said he owed it to his public to look like $1 million. And he did. I knew he owned a salon on Fifth Avenue, but I didn't think he made enough to afford his lifestyle, until I visited his salon last year to get a bikini wax, a manicure, the works. I then became aware of how he could afford the apartment overlooking Central Park, and the little gray Porsche Roadster setting in the garage, for weekend rides out of the city. Stephen's traits are that of a salesman who could charm a rattlesnake out of his rattle. He convinced me to submit my body to the removal of all my pubic hair. I heard of a Brazilian wax, but never understood what it entailed. I sat exposed, as a total stranger peered into my private area surveying, and no doubt achieving pleasure from the excruciating pain that I endured. That experience at his salon cemented our friendship. I met Stephen at an outdoor cafe on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. He knew about Danny and I, and he was jealous, flaming jealous. After the waiter finished checking out Stephen and locking eyes with him, he looked me up and down and decided that I wasn't a threat. He decided to seat us. Before I could get comfortable in chairs that weren't made for comfort, Stephen began to grill me. "Sydney, tell me about that gorgeous green-eyed sexy Brit of yours," Stephen said, salivating over his words and not the food. He expected to hear all sort of juicy gossip. "What is there to tell? I'm sure Tracy told you everything you needed to know." Tracy, a college friend, introduced me to Stephen. "Danny is in Los Angeles and Canada filming. He's finished, now he is up for a Golden Globe, that's it," I said, not giving him what he wanted. "All I want to know is, are you going with him?" "Going with him where, Stephen?" My thoughts were aimlessly straying. "To the Golden Globes, lady." "I don't think so, he hasn't asked me. And I don't want to spoil his chances." "You don't want to spoil his chances? Spoil his chances for what? Girl, you have a lot to learn. Did you just come across the border or fall off a turnip truck? You're going to let that man go alone to one of the biggest events in Hollywood and let the world think he is available? I don't like to suffocate a man, and besides, his agent may have someone they want him to bring." "You don't like to suffocate a man? Well, that is the first stupid thing I've heard today, and you beat out Tracy with her stupid nonsense yesterday." Tracy informed me that she didn't see anything wrong with her husband's ex-wife living in the basement of their home. "Is there a full moon or something?" Stephen said, raising his voice, snapping his fingers, shaking his head, and gesturing with his hands. The waiter must have thought Stephen had signaled him to take our order, because he showed up and plopped 2 glasses of water on the table with a sliver of lemon in each one. With a bored and snobbish look, his nose in the air, and a perfected English accent, the waiter made a suggestion of what we should order. We didn't want to hurt his feelings, nor have him rehearse for a part in a play, so we agreed to his recommendations, if only to get back to our conversation. Stephen peered at me for a few minutes, waiting for an answer to the question he posed, before the waiter interrupted, and then realizing that he wasn't going to be satisfied, he questioned, "Are you crazy?" Stephen shouted so loud that the couple at the next table glanced over, and the haughty waiter put his finger over his lips and said, "Quiet. I'm not crazy, Stephen. I know what I'm doing." "You think you know, you don't know men," he said, as if he had a patent on what men want. The waiter brought our Caesar salads and wine, and then paused long enough to hear Stephen. "You are making a big mistake. You better grab that man and suck his cock like I know you know how, and never let him out of your sight," he said, laughing and enjoying the sound of his words. The waiter left blushing after tucking his card under Stephen's glass of wine. "Stephen, please. Finish your meal." "Sydney, you are hopeless," he stated, stuffing salad into his mouth. "Honey, I might try him. I bet I could turn him out." "Stephen, you can't control that supposedly straight man you are dating. How do you expect to tell me what to do with my man?" I needed to shut him up, because I didn't hear what I wanted from him. "Sydney, you need to stop," Stephen said, realizing I had hit a home run. I stared at Stephen, gazing into oblivion, knowing that Stephen was trying to get a rise out of me. I continued stabbing my salad with my fork, and trying to make a decision. The what-ifs were running through my mind. There I go, falling into Stephen's trap, and he's sitting there with a joker's grin plastered on his face. My mind was a great big ball of confusion. I felt like screaming. My mind made me a prisoner. I opened Pandora's box within myself, and now I'm shocked at what I'm finding. I left Stephen at the cafe to finish his lunch and exchange glances with his future victim. I rushed back to my apartment. It was a mistake talking to Stephen because he reinforced all my fears. I packed my clothes, carried my bags, and walked out the apartment where a cab was waiting. I didn't remember the ride to the airport or my flight landing in Las Vegas because my mind was preoccupied. I was having a mental discussion with Danny, a sort of dress rehearsal on what to say to him. Las Vegas. The sound of car horns, people and slot machines colored the day because all were competing on the same sound wave. I do remember arriving in Las Vegas early Friday morning. I retrieved my bags, walked outside the airport into the soothing heat, and took a car to the Wynn Hotel. The Wynn Hotel sits on blocks of land that once housed casinos, which welcomed the royalty of old Hollywood. Now young Hollywood comes to party with its millions in new money. The cab took me to the check-in for the Tower Suites. Bentleys and Mercedes lined the colorful, careful manicured driveway. Walking through an endless maze, I finally found my way to the check-in counter. After a gracious greeting, doors opened, and I strutted toward the registration desk. All eyes followed me, because I looked gorgeous in my white Valentino pantsuit that Stephen so carefully selected. I asked him if he could find a more expensive pantsuit. Stephen's feelings were hurt before he realized that I was kidding, because that suit cost a small fortune. I sauntered to the desk and explained to the little cute girl standing at an impressive counter that there is a reservation for 5 days in the name of Danny McLeod. Danny McLeod, he is so sexy. Will he be here too? I can't wait, stated the young woman in a high-pitched excited girly voice, too young to be dressed in a pale beige conservative suit. She glanced at me, trying to act important and sophisticated. I had known her type because I was once that type. Pretending to be a woman of the world, nevertheless, she had more living to do to meet those standards. This is a pretty girl of 18, who melted at hearing Danny's name. I gave her a half-smile and sauntered away. The bellman escorted me to the room, and it impressed me. It was just like Danny to give me the best, even when he had very little money, but now he's a star, and according to reports, making in the 8-figure range. I unpacked, showered, ordered something to eat, because by then I was hungry. I ate, slept, and woke to see lights and stars become a part of the room's decor. Placing a beautiful sheer cream negligee near the bed to stimulate Danny's imagination, I waited for my love, my life. My body lay bare under the sheets. It was a hot day, about an hour after midnight when I felt his kiss on my cheek, his warm hands caressing my breast, his fingers easing throughout my body from my head, buttocks, and legs. His breathing was intense as his hands and mouth moved along my skin. I felt his breath, it vibrated like a heartbeat. Danny leaned over me. I gazed into his handsome face and lost myself once again in those emerald eyes. He gently turned my body over and began kissing my back and buttocks. His tongue and fingers danced through every sensual pore, and goosebumps showered my skin from the tantalizing massage. My legs became rigid as the blood flowed throughout my body, and every hair on my head tingled. He only stopped long enough for both of us to catch our breath. "Oh. Oh. Oh," were the only words I could ease through my lips. "Hello, beautiful," he said, smiling softly. "How long have you been here?" he asked, trying to gain control of his body. "No, don't answer." "I'll be right back," he whispered in my ear. I heard the water flowing, and I tiptoed out of bed. I walked into the shower with him. He turned to face me, and I saw the look in his eyes, a hungry look. I knew my body excited him, so I sashayed closer and closer to him. I turned his body around and began to wash his back. I lay my head on his neck and kissed it slowly and passionately. I took my hands, placing them around to the front of his chest, touching each hard ripple. I rubbed against his hard butt. He turned to face me with a smile on his face, and there he stood in all his glory, with his body welcoming me with a hard erect penis, and he said, "Look what I have for you." I knew he was ready and would spill his life inside me. He was hot and full just from looking at my body, but he wasn't going to let me control him, at least not yet. He wanted to enjoy every second of our erotic lovemaking. Danny's hands reached for my arms and brought me to his body, and his wonderful head moved to kiss my firm breast as my nipples pulsated with his touch. A floodwater rushed out of me. He opened my legs and felt me to check my heat and moisture. Steam was rising. Danny turned off the shower, and I sat on the bench exposing all for him to see. He bent down and crouched between my legs, hungry for my body. I didn't want my orgasm just yet, so I pulled his face to mine, looked starry-eyed, and then kissed his chest, kissed his mouth. I stood. He followed me. I glanced at him and walked out of the shower, showing off what Danny called a great piece of ass, while knowing he was out of his mind with intense passion and looking for a payoff. I heard a door closing, and then moments later, I felt his naked body glide next to me in bed. I felt warmth radiating from his every pore. I felt excitement overtake him, and his breathing heightened. I sucked his neck hard while placing bruises that would take weeks to erase. Then he moved down my body, and he lay kissing my breast for hours. I kissed his chest as I held his wet hot penis. Every portion of his body wanted me. I used my tongue, mouth, and hands with accuracy. I was gliding over his hot body, and not missing any portion of the landscape. The landscape was beautiful, it was strong and yielding. His body overflowed, and he shouted. His groans of excitement gave me a glorious feeling, where I became excited at the stunned look on Danny's face. I wanted to give him what he had given me, because I was thirsty and hungry for him. He reached his climax again, and again he overflowed out and in my body, as he held me next to him with a look of amazement. "You are the only woman that has ever created this kind feeling in me. I'm never going to let you go." "What if I died?" I said playfully. "Then I'll die with you." "No," I said to myself, "this is crazy, this sounds too serious." I had inadvertently created a situation I couldn't handle, yet I was dizzy with the power I had over Danny. What does he mean, the only woman? All sorts of thoughts rushed through my unstructured mind. Consumed with glory and conquest of this young man, caused arrogance and stupidity on my part. I've never been able to reach an orgasm like that. "You are the only woman that can make me feel the way I do," he admitted, as if I had given him a new toy he could cherish forever and ever. "I don't want to think of you doing this with any man. I want to be the only man in your life," he said with a look that shook the foundation of my soul. He had to be kidding. He was the only man in my life, the only man in my dreams who could cancel my thoughts of all men. Who would have thought, after past years, I had found that I wanted to pleasure a man, and satisfy him repeatedly only because of his love of me and my love for him. We spent all night loving each other, giving each other what we needed, and discovering what we could do to arouse each other. We were totally exhausted. What are some positions men and women use to engage in sex? I asked. Kama Sutra has many positions. Well, we tried them all. Every part of my body ached with pleasure. I fell into a deep sleep and I began to dream. It was a strange dream. I was still married to Mike, and he brought Danny to the house to have a threesome. There I was with my husband Mike, and he insisting I have sex with Danny, a stranger. Danny and I began having sex, as Mike watched, regretting his decisions. We enjoyed each other, and forgot everything and everyone. We were lost in each other's bodies. Then Mike became enraged as he stood over Danny and me. I looked up and I started screaming, "Stop!" Mike, no. I woke relieved that none of this was true, and Danny was indeed my true love. Heather, with her infinite wisdom and superstition, says that if you dream of death, that means life. I realize that I'm in this wonderful place with a gorgeous, exciting man, and the nightmare of my first marriage was over, and I'm free for the moment. Danny drank too much wine and didn't hear me cry out. Thank goodness. I lay on top of Danny as he sleeps. I'm his security blanket and he's my teddy bear. We finally had the things we couldn't live without. We were children again, who couldn't endure a separation from the ones we love, and we were the only two people in our world. The curtains were closed to keep the world out, and there lay the man of my dreams. I'm suddenly reminded of the song by Westlife, Flying Without Wings. It's waking up beside you to watch the sunrise on your face, to know I can say I love you in any given time or place. I'm flying without wings. I exposed my life to Danny. Life can be like a kaleidoscope with endless colorful dreams. Dreams unfulfilled are useless and can be a nightmare, but dreams can also be a way to make life bearable. I used to have only my dreams, but now for the moment I have Danny. He's a movie star, and some women would give up husbands to make love to him. Here I am lying next to him, and I am breathless, speechless and mindless. We lay together in this enchanted room, filled with flowers and amenities of the rich and famous. We lay together in an enormous suite, with fine wine, maids and concierge service to satisfy our every whim and fancy. There is nothing too good for my baby, he stated proudly. We needed nothing that night but the bed and shower. Now it's early in the morning, and I see the sun glancing through the heavenly silk ivory drapes that surround the scenic window, as if positioned in front of a stage, separating the actors from the audience. The performances began early that night, and finally ended. The curtains are closed, and the actors have taken their bows. I woke feeling a sense of apprehension and emptiness, which was of my own creation. I was constantly thinking about the differences in our ages, and I became insecure. I couldn't get past the thought that a difference in age with my husband Mike, who was 15 or 20 years older than me, had affected and almost ruined my life before I met Danny. I silently moved with the grace of a cat to open the curtains, so as not to disturb Danny. The sun rose just above the mountains in a distance. I could see and feel the Las Vegas sun showering its warmth on my man. The beam from the morning sun created a spotlight on that handsome figure. I crept back into the bed to feel the desire of his body one more time. I hugged him and melted into his body. His body presented a feeling of emotions that hadn't been revealed. The occupation of my mind with past emotions concerning men led a search around the room for the answers to the puzzle I was constructing. My eyes landed on pillows strewn all around a wonderfully soft bed that would not want anything to touch its surface but soft white delicate silken sheets, and bodies in heat. Clothes lay streaming along the floor like a tide had come and washed them away, then leaving them as it receded. There were clothes torn from bodies willing to make the sacrifice for lust. These were clothes of individuals who put time and money into their selection to entice and excite the senses. A man's leather jacket made to caress a body that deserved adornment. Shirts thrown, cascading over a beautiful soft pink lace bra and panties to fit a small body. There lay expensive jeans to fit the physique of my Greek god. My panties so sheer as to give the appearance of an absence of their intention, but make no mistake, their intentions were clear. I bought these garments to entice, to involve, to create an illusion, and masquerading my flaws, that of a desperate young woman loving a beautiful naive young man. Lying close, Danny slept, clutching my thong as if caught up in the allure of my scent. As he turned, I could see a quiet sexuality. A man at the height of his sexuality, not understanding his craving for sex, wanting sex, driven by passionate sex, and reeking with sexual desire. A man not knowing the effects of the strength of his sexuality, what many women crave and dream of all their lives. Yet there I had him, all of him, and he didn't even know that he was beautiful. He's a private, peaceful man who found solace in only a few people. A man who needed the love I gave and the love he gave me. His body strong with a firm chest and arms created by nature and set affix for the world to behold. Arms so full and firm that when held, you never want to release your hold on him for fear of never touching them again. These qualities alone did not fashion the man I'm in love with. His face is a heartstopper, tanned from the recent sun, dark curly hair with sideburns cut short, and a wisp of light that nature painted so graciously. His eyes are deep green. I could leap into them and roll on endlessly, as if I were a child in a field of clover. His mouth covered sumptuous white teeth that said bite me anywhere, and his kiss was a promise of more to come. His smile made me feel as if I could never share him with anyone, and his voice set my heart on fire, fire that was continuous and full of embers never to extinguish. When he spoke, I could hear the Scottish and English accent he tried to mask, in favor of an American accent he thought everyone wanted to hear, not I. His accent is his charm. He is 20 years old, some woman's son. You could see she put pride, joy, and all her emotions into his body and soul. I, on the other hand, am 25. He never suspected that I am older, and I have been feeling guilty ever since I met him and fell in love with him. How could I marry a man where I am full of life's experiences? He was at a disadvantage. How could I take those years from him? Maybe if I ended it now, I could save myself some heartache. He could forget me in time. Would I forget him? My mind was unfamiliar with all the choices or lack of choices I had to make in a few seconds. I'm a woman at the pinnacle of her sexual prime. I have finally discovered my true sexual happiness. A sexy, beautiful woman, I hear. Why else is he with me and not someone else? I consoled myself not wanting to know the truth. My insecurity was killing me. My face is soft with a natural blush. Stephen says I am alluring, and that I have a drop-dead gorgeous body. I have always been pretty, easy on the eyes, attracting many different types of men. I guess you could say every man's type. I have honey brown eyes and long dark brown full hair. My voice is easy on the ear. I never show my impatience for people or things that displease me. I laugh easily and cry when I'm sad. I glanced once more at the man whom I love and desire. Should I tell him I think I'm not right for him and leave? Should I just steal away with the sound of his voice singing in my mind? I remembered a poem by Robert Burns, a poem he recited when I first met him in New York, just before we made love, and later when he fell to his knees and asked me to marry him. I laughed with pleasure to see this beautiful young man make a fool of himself. Oh, my leaves like a red, red rose. That's newly sprung in June. Oh, my leaves like the melody that's sweetly played in tune. I rose to leave the bed, and my love reached over to touch me, to give security that I was still at his side. I fell into his eyes, and I drowned in his lips once more when he reached to kiss me. Where are you going? He questioned. You're not taking another shower, I hope. You take more showers than anyone I ever met. Danny didn't know that the showers were a way to erase my pain. Every soothing water drop erased a memory of Mike. No, Danny, I'm closing the curtains. Get back in bed. We have all day, he insisted, half asleep. I miss you when your body is not near me. I want to feel your warmth, and I like your smell. I miss you too, Danny, I admitted, holding back tears. I haven't finished what I started. We have all day, and I have something special for you, he repeated. He smiled and flashed those wonderful teeth that kept me fixed and motionless whenever he spoke. When I look into his eyes and his mouth, I can't move. I'm hypnotized. I waited long enough to relieve his apprehension of me not being close to him. I lulled him into a false sleep. I wrapped myself in his jacket and held it close, to smell his scent. I stared at the handsome young man dreaming of me, then I sneaked out of the room, and out of his life like a thief, wandering around place to place, taking valuables, using them, and discarding them at will, because I didn't pay a price for their acquisition. He gave his love to me easily, I rationalized. Why else would I do such a thing? I didn't like myself at the time, so I couldn't understand why he would love me. I moved like a cat in the night, not wanting to be seen and too quick to capture. I cried and shivered, as if I had lost 1,000 years and had only one day left on this earth. I walked out on Danny, and I said words he did not hear. I said words that danced in my mind and left my body weak. I spoke the ending to his favorite Burns's poem, as he lies sleeping wrapped in my scent. And fare thee weel, my only Louvre. And fare thee weel a while. And I will come again, my Louvre. Though 'twere 10,000 mile. I knew I wouldn't be back, because I'm a coward, and I couldn't face that he might see me differently. I walked out of his life into a life I had constructed before I met him. I walked back into looking for what I had already found, and leaving what I could not face, having him replace me with another woman one day. How am I to go on? How am I to manage the hours of the day? As I stole from my life and Danny's, I walked out the door of our room, into the elevator of the Wynn Hotel. I was a dead man walking. I had to walk through the casino, past shops and restaurants, and a maze of people to get to the taxi stand. It was the longest walk of my life. That instant my phone began to ring and all my fears appeared. What should I do? Should I answer the phone? Come on, stupid, a voice played in my head. That's not Danny's ring. No, it wasn't Danny. It was my friend Heather. Hi Heather, what's up? I tried to sound like my usual self, but I spoke devoid of feelings, empty. I prayed my voice wouldn't reveal my true emotions. What's with you? You sound different. How was your night with Danny? What do you mean? I replied, tense and annoyed. I just sentenced myself to years of endless heartache and pain, I thought. It sucked, I whispered into the phone. You mean you finally sucked his? Heather shouted in sheer joy. That's none of your business. I shouted as I cut her off. I couldn't believe I said that, because Heather knew everything about me. I have truly lost my sense of humor. Listen here, Missy, don't get fresh with me, Heather said in a restrained voice. Heather, a great friend, educated, well-spoken, and always positive. She could see the good in everyone, and she never met a man she didn't like. That was until she met Mike. She could make you laugh and cry in an instant with her views of the world. Heather, a shy, hardy woman, who lived vicariously through my exploits, and always thought I was the most courageous woman ever, but little did she realize I was nothing but a coward hiding behind a charade of beautiful clothes, education, and going to the gym to mitigate physical aging, which time would eventually steal. I'm sorry, I'm feeling sick, I explained. You are pregnant. Oh my God. Oh my God. You are. Shouted Heather, caught up in blind ecstasy. Shut up for a moment and listen. I'm not pregnant. Oh, stated Heather with a disappointed sigh. Listen. Listen. I have left Danny. You mean you left to take a swim, to get a massage? No. I shouted. I left him for good. Did Danny do something or say something? No, he wouldn't, she said, answering her own question. He's not that kind of man. What did you do? I didn't do anything. I screamed, not caring who was listening. You must have done something, she stated accusingly. Look, I can't talk to you. Bye. Sydney, don't hang up. You need to talk to someone. Heather's words didn't reach my ears in time, because my mind was booming with my thoughts. I turned the phone off. I didn't see the hundreds of tourists, or hear the impressive handsome Frenchman engage me in a conversation about the weather, as I stood in line waiting for a taxi. I vaguely remembered anything at the time. I thought it was a dream. I didn't feel the heat of the morning sun scour my body, turning my face and skin tan, until I resembled the girls on the beaches of Brazil. As I rode to the airport to make my getaway, suddenly jealousy overtook me. I began to conjure up all sort of insane ideas. What if he met some hot young woman, a showgirl, a party girl, and made love to her to ease his pain? What if she made him feel like I could never make him feel, and he could forget me? What if I can't take the heartache and pain I have decided to put myself through? What if I decide to go back to him? Will he forgive me for leaving? Why are you thinking about that now, stupid? I shouted into the air, wanting to scream and rush back before he wakes and discover I'm gone. How will he feel when he discovers that I ran out on him? I questioned myself, and the answers wouldn't come. The cabbie began to look in his mirror, because he thought he had an insane woman in his midst. Between the crying and the conversations, I pretty much was insane. I'm insane to leave a man that could promise me the world and deliver. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I acted on an impulse to flee a situation I couldn't control. I've always been a woman with confidence, who trusted herself and her decisions. I have made the right decision, I thought, trying to find an answer to my riddle. Danny said he was attracted to me because I was the picture of strength and confidence. Yeah, right. What man looks at a woman and says, "Oh, I like her confidence"? Well, look at me now, a crazy woman talking to herself and too stupid to figure out what everyone around me has. The beautiful, poised, and confident woman is an idiot. I whispered. People sense desperation, and I'm a person that could never hide my feelings. The cab driver saw it on my face and said, "Miss, calm down, you look like you've been to a funeral, it's going to be all right. Did you lose a lot in Vegas?" I never answered him, because I lost more than he could imagine, and I would have told him my life story. I knew I couldn't go back to New York for now, and the magazine would have to function without me. I flew to Houston to get my footing and renew myself. I needed someone that could ease the pain I created within my soul.